Today we're in a JCB looking for the wisdom in Mr. JCB himself. We're also going to be taking apart some old Tonka trucks and replicating JCBs with them. And when we're done, we're going to sell them on eBay, and any money that raises will go to Save the Children, which is a charity that JCB themselves support every year. He was born in Staffordshire, England in 1916 to a Catholic family. His grandfather set up an agricultural engineering business that was very successful and enabled Joe to be privately educated. Also provided him with a job, and a few years later he was called up by the RAF to serve in World War II, which he did on the African Gold Coast. When Joe returned with a wealth of engineering and work experience, his family firm proved too stifling for him, and his uncle actually let him go, thinking that he was never really going to make much of himself. But Joe had a wife and a baby on the way, so he found himself selling Brill cream to tie himself over whilst he planned and saved for his own engineering business. Eventually Joe was ready. In 1945 in September, he rented a lowly 15-foot garage and bought a bit of surplus steel from the war effort, old axles and bits and pieces, and he built a trailer. And when he sold this, the first JCB, he got £45 and a cart in part exchange. The cart he then did up and sold also for another £45. He said later that a family and no money tended to concentrate his mind. And this helped Bamford to develop an urgency to his work. He was determined to simply get the job done. He also realised that if he was to achieve what he wanted, he would need to innovate and invest immediately rather than further down the line, and this helped pushing him forward. Therefore, the new JCB company showed no interest in stockpiling money, chasing competitors, or revelling in success. In fact, just 3 years after starting in 1948, he invented the first hydraulic trailer. 2 years after that, in 1950, his famous yellow paint, and the big one after that, 3 years later in 1953, the backhoe loader came. And the innovations just kept coming. Side shifting, torque gearbox, the first four-wheel drive and four-wheel steer, the first little cigarette lighters. Of course, in the wake of innovation and graft, success naturally came, and eventually success on such a level that in 1969 he was awarded a CBE. With a bigger company and bigger success, you get bigger problems with it. He needed more than just his simple innovations. He needed to address marketing, customer service, and in a time where mass strikes were happening and almost normal, he needed to address employee satisfaction. Each was approached with a sense of urgency. For example, customer service. Bamford decreed that every single fault or down machine should be personally reported to him so that every customer would not be forgotten. And of course, in time, Britain came to trust JCB above all others and gifted him in return 95% of the market. For marketing, it was the famous JCB dancing diggers that famously in Las Vegas brought a halt to all the gambling and made JCB a household name. He also bought a jet to fly in all his biggest customers, and the first 100 of his vehicles that were sold, he personally delivered and handed over in his, he turned up in his Rolls Royce with the number plate JCB1 and personally hand over the keys. He made customers feel like superstars. This created a brand that even the lowliest or meanest of onlooking customers would see as something to strive for. But slightly less well known is what Bamford did for his staff. Bamford believed in creating a healthy environment. He was a teetotal non-smoker and a very hard worker, even at the height of his success. He would expect loyalty and hard work from every employee, but he was willing to offer it in return. He offered high wages, use of a 10,000-acre estate where his employees could fish, could shoot, could hunt, could camp, they could sail in the river, and he slightly more famously gave bonuses to all his employees. In fact, you may have heard that one year he stood in the middle of his factory and handed out personal checks to every single employee. The amount totaled something like £250,000, which in today's money is millions. He stood in the middle of his factory and handed every employee their bonus check for the year. And as a result, Bamford's employees were, in a time where strikes were happening and things weren't working great with employees, it was estimated that a Bamford employee was as much as 7 times as productive as the average employee. When Joe was asked what it took to be successful, he said this: "The same thing it took to get started. A sense of urgency about getting things done. The world is full of very competent people who honestly intend to do things tomorrow, or as soon as they can get round to it. Their accomplishments, however, seldom match those of the less talented, who are blessed with a sense of the importance of getting started now." Joseph Bamford wasn't the best person in the world. He wasn't the smartest or the best inventor. Dancing diggers. It's childish, it's ridiculous. Standing in the middle of your factory and giving away your money. He was so tight with money, him and his wife would still make their own curtains. And his workers reacted. 7 times the productivity of the average worker. Joseph Cyril Bamford's secret should be obvious to all of us. If there's a problem, somebody has to solve it. If you want to be successful, somebody has to start it. He simply knew how to get on with the job.
That was nice of them to let you use their JCB. Are you going to get them something to say thank you? Box of chocolates?
Yeah, I'll do it tomorrow.